there. Reeb, see, look at her. Reeb got bold and he turned his on. We are going to do an update today that we haven't done in quite a while, maybe even since before the pandemic. I don't remember, maybe Mark does, but when we did the last of these where it was essentially all of us on and doing an update. I don't remember when that last was, but it's been a while. And we're going to record this, obviously, and we're going to make it available to our whole organization. I have a really interesting quick comment to get started. As you probably mostly know, we use a site called Kajabi as our platform for our website and for EAT, as well as for any number of others that we have. And we're going to talk about a couple of those today. But that group was formed initially in 2009. I was one of their very first customers back in 2009, and they have come a long way since then. They're based in Southern California, which is where I grew up, and I've actually been to 2 different events at their headquarters and gotten to know the founders who are no longer involved. It's a whole new set of leadership there at Kajabi. But and the reason for that is that those guys that founded it sold it and made a boatload of money. I don't know how much that was, but they did really well, and there's a good group that's there now. Well, I don't go into the site as much as I should. I'm going to start going into it more. Mark and Reeb are in it all the time. Aaron a little bit less so. Mark a lot, and Reeb quite a bit. Well, they didn't tell me, but it's changed a lot. Mark, it's amazing how much it's changed in a positive way. And one is the analytics that it'll give you. And so here's a real interesting one. There's a webinar that we did about 3 years ago. So EAT is now 6 years old, almost 6.5 years old. And we did this webinar with McCoy. What's his first name? Is it Mike or Reeb or Mark? Do you remember? Is it Mike McCoy? He's the herbalist. He's a lot like Elaine Ingham, who we have a webinar today, a replay webinar being done from Elaine.
Peter McCoy. It's Peter McCoy.
It is Peter. You're right, Reeb. And that webinar has been viewed. Would you take a guess, Reeb? How many times has that webinar been viewed since we originally aired it?
Yeah, okay, I will take a guess. Since we have a membership site of more than 30,000 people now, so maybe a couple of thousand, 2,000, 5,000.
All right, Mark, how many times? Is your guess? Okay, and Aaron, you can guess. Aaron's not as involved in the mechanics of the website as both Reeb and Mark are, but Aaron, would you guess?
How many members are we up to now?
Well, 32 something, aren't we? Isn't it 32.5, Mark?
Let me just get you the right number. Above 30,000. We were a bit low, I think, a year back. Now we are above that. So
I'll say 60,000.
Well, gosh, I thought you guys all underestimated. You all overestimated it, but I would have never guessed it was the number that it was. And I'm not going to give the exact number, but it's close. And it's 1,100 and sometimes. So
okay,
that's an average of 1 a day of that webinar. If you take 3 years, which is, I think, when it was done live, it's a lot. And interestingly, that's something we're going to start to do better, which is to track those, because it's easy to track. There's a list that didn't used to be available, but now as you go in as an administrator, which we all are of the site, you can find which are your most viewed webinars. That is the most viewed webinar of replays that we have. And the next one's about 700 or something like that. And I would have guessed it would have been one of Mark Shepard's, but no, it's the one by Peter McCoy. That surprised me also that it was his. So why don't the three of you just briefly introduce yourselves? And Reeb, since you're on the screen, we'll let you go first and tell everybody where you're at, because some of them may not know that, and where you spend most of your time. Maybe what's happened relatively new, because I don't think maybe the group knows about some of the personal changes in your life. And secondly, what do you do for the EAT community? What's your role? What kinds of things do you do?
Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Reeb Ali. I am in Lahore, Pakistan, which is quite far from US, I guess. And it is right now 1:10. So we have a difference of 11 hours, Wayne, or 12 hours?
No, it's 12. Yeah, we're 1:10 also, so it's 12
Yeah,
hours.
1:10, it's AM. I think 1:10 PM is at where Wayne is, Mountain Time. So yeah, here in Pakistan, locally I work in advertising, and that is mostly outdoor advertising with billboards and brand activations and different malls and stuff like that. So it's quite it goes more from my education. I'm an MBA, so advertisement is like career wise. But I think when I initially started, I never got a job in the corporate in Pakistan, so I think Wayne found me somewhere and then started working. And since then, I think it has been like 6-7 years now, Wayne, right? So working like this. So daytime job, advertising, nighttime, EAT. And with EAT, my main job is basically to connect with the new speakers. So Wayne has a lot of connections. We try to find organic ways that people kind of suggest speakers to us. And my main job is to connect with them and see if they're interested in doing a session with us, a guest session, or a course with us, basically. So once that is done, then I have to nail down a date when that is going to happen. And then I have to brief them about the system. We use GoToWebinar as our system. And that is something I have to brief them about, like how to use that. Once that is done, then I need to give them access of our EAT Elite membership and need to tell them basically how to navigate the site and how to use it so they can share it with other people. So that is, I think, in the briefest way of saying like what I do at EAT.
And what about some changes that have happened in your life over the last couple of years?
Okay, so I think all the changes happened in the last 2 years. I think Wayne knows what I was a single guy. Like 2 years back, I was single for 5 years, on and off dating, but stuff. But in last 2 years, I got a new place to live at. We renovated this. It's a beautiful apartment in Lahore. I got married to my beautiful wife, Hena Khan. And then I have a daughter. She was born last year in August. So my whole life changed in 2 years. So now I'm not sure what exactly I want to do. Rather than working only, and earn money and then die. So because everything else is taken care of. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure I'm a junkie, but yeah, I'm an enthusiast of sports. I used to play rugby a lot, and I have represented my own country, Pakistan. I have 19 international caps. Then I have a lot of national and district cups, gold and silver. So yeah, I used to play rugby a lot. Still my favorite game. And rugby is something which I was a natural at. Basketball is something I suck at, but still I love it because it's more of a technical game. In rugby, it's also technical, but yeah, I think that comes to me naturally. In basketball, is something I have to work hard. Though I'm not a very tall guy, but yeah, I love it. And then we have football. I used to play football, soccer. I think if people in US know about that. So it's soccer, and we're looking forward to the World Cup now. So me and Wayne have our favorite teams, and let's see who wins.
All right, awesome, Arib. Thank you for that update. Now let's move to Mark. And Mark, why don't you do the same kind of thing? Tell everybody where you're at and what your role with EAT is, and then a little bit if anything has changed in your life in the recent past. And where are you in the world? You didn't say that. Awesome. And then one last thing, you're not you're a sports fan. I know you love football and enjoy other things, but you also are a musician. So I haven't asked you this in a little while. The pandemic put a stop to live entertainment for a while, but have you got your group back together, Mark? And are they active again? Awesome. Cool.
Looking forward to Mark. Yeah, we'd love to listen to something.
Does your band have a name? Oh, cool.
Agantuk? Okay.
All right, very cool. And then last but not least, the newest member is Erin, and Erin is, I'll say where she's at. She is in Middletown, Ohio, which is about halfway between Cincinnati and Dayton, if you know the US at all. And I know a bunch of you are not from the US, like Arif said, that you probably don't know where those kinds of locations are. But the cool thing is, if you were able to go online, which you would do to watch this, as we put it up on our site, on the EAT site. EAT, by the way, is the Call-Onomic Action Team. And anyway, as we do that, you could use any kind of a map app and kind of figure out where the locations are. And I think we should all do more of that throughout the world. And it helps us to get to know each other and frankly, be kinder to each other that way, because we feel closer to one another. So, Erin, why don't you talk about yourself a little bit and your role? While you do that, I've got like I said, it was 1 below 0 Fahrenheit this morning. So everybody, Mark and Arif, who are much more versed in metric than I am, Celsius, I think that would be about
1.32 or something.
No, it would be, so 32 is 0 Celsius. That's freezing.
Right.
And it would be probably 40 below 0, Arif, maybe? Centigrade? We can
You're
look
saying
at
-1?
-1 Fahrenheit.
So -1 Fahrenheit is Celsius -18.
18, okay. But still,
-18, wow.
it's a low number, one that in Arif's country, you have to end up in the mountains next to Nepal probably to ever have that cold. And I don't think it would ever get that cold anywhere in Bangladesh, right, Mark? You wouldn't have a place in your country that would ever get that cold. Yeah.
You can go to Nepal. I think Nepal is really near to you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, anyway, I've got to go. So we're trying to really become more Call-Onomic in my home here. So I live in a home that is about 1,500 square feet. Somebody could do the conversion to meters, square meters. It's a fairly average size in the US. It's 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. My office here, which you're seeing sort of the view of, I've tried to kind of put on the walls of it personal sort of memorabilia, pictures of my family and things that are somewhat special to me. And anyway, I lost my train of thought. What was I was trying to introduce Erin? Oh, 1 below 0. Oh, go ahead, Erin. What were you saying?
I was gonna help jog where you were at. You were talking about the temperature, like you said, in Economics.
Right. I'm trying to be more Call-Onomic, and our primary source of heat is gas, and it's not natural gas because we don't have those kinds of lines here. Instead, it's propane, and propane is a more expensive fuel than natural gas, probably not nearly as climate friendly as even natural gas. It'd be similar, but we try to do something better, and we can heat this entire house with wood. We don't have a wood-fired burner. We have a wood fireplace that has a fan in it, and it will move the air out. And our house is fairly open in its architecture, and the fireplace is right in the middle, and so it sort of moves air around very well. But you got to keep it, as we call, the word we use is stoked with wood. You got to keep putting wood in it. And I'm going to take a break for just a second, so all you're going to do is see the background as I just walk over to the fireplace and put a couple more logs on it while Erin talks a little bit about her background and herself. And I will let you go ahead and start that, Erin.
Okay, so like Wayne said, I'm here in Southwest Ohio, and the high today is 33 degrees Fahrenheit, which is almost 0 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty chilly, and got a little bit of snow, but I've been working with this team for about 3 years, and I work primarily as an environmental scientist and geologist with another Wayne's businesses, which is called Center for Economic Excellence and Development, and that is the business that deals with environmentally disturbed properties and remediation of them. So I've been helping out on a contaminated site in this area, and dealing with the EPA and making sure that everything's working properly, and we have a monitoring plan, and we sample the groundwater and all sorts of media. So, but when I'm not helping with my environmental science hat on, I help a little bit with the EAT community doing outreach, but I'm pretty much just here support for Areve and Mark and Wayne in the EAT community, but I love learning about all different types of regenerative agriculture and other entrepreneurial things people are doing. So it's been really neat.
Awesome. I haven't heard that, most of it, as I was putting a log on the fire. So what we're burning, by the way, is also very economic. But it's not the best of fuel for fire. The best fuels for fire are hardwoods. So wood that is very dense, and here in the US, that would be trees like oaks or maples or ash or cottonwood. All of those that I just mentioned, we have around here, but we also generate a lot of waste wood, meaning wood that otherwise we would maybe burn in an outdoor fire pit, and unfortunately sometimes throw away, but it really isn't usable again. It's warped. It's got some problems with it that would make it to where it wouldn't be very good for, future kind of construction purposes. So we have probably 5 cords, and a cord is a measurement of an amount of wood, and I don't know the equivalent to that in other languages, and I don't even know what that means exactly. I think it might be a cubic meter of or a cubic yard, and a yard is 36 inches by 36, and a meter is 39. A cubic meter would be 39 by 39 by 39. And anyway, we've got about 5 cords of that cut, and I probably go through 30 logs a day right now. And again, this has been the coldest day of the year so far. It's not, they say we will go 60 some hours between going above freezing. So it'll be below freezing, below 0 Celsius for that amount of time. So anyway, updates, lots of them that we have here. And I'm just going to start with a couple about me personally. One, I got pretty sick a year ago. Yeah, it's a good site to keep up, Mark. We're going to put EPN up in a little bit also. But actually, on right before the 1st of October, so the last weekend in September, I went to a large gathering, 3,000 people that were attending it here, about an hour and a half drive from my house. And it was 2 days, and it was in a large convention hall, and everybody was wearing masks and following the appropriate COVID protocol, with the exception of social distancing. We were sitting in that big open space with a stage up in front and watching and listening to speakers, really right next to each other. And anyway, I came back from that and almost immediately left and went to a college reunion in Minnesota. So that event was during the week, and then the next weekend I went to this reunion, and I was also in close quarters with a lot smaller numbers of people, and a lot of it was outdoors. But out of that, right after it, a whole bunch of my friends and ex-classmates from college at that reunion reported that they were tested positive for COVID. And I didn't feel great, so I went and had a COVID test, and I tested positive. So right around the 1st of October, I had a positive COVID test with minimal symptoms at that time. Probably I hadn't lost a sense of smell or taste, and didn't have a lot of respiratory problems. I have a chronic cough anyway, just because I've just had pneumonia a number of times through my life, and my lungs have been a little bit scarred from that. And so I get crackliness in the upper part of my lungs and in my throat. So I had maybe a little more of that than normal, but otherwise no serious symptoms. As we moved towards the holidays, which for us, the time between what we call Thanksgiving here in the US, which I think is it Boxer Day in Canada? Arib, you know Canada a little bit more. He's got relatives, but I think, is Boxer Day, or is that a day after Christmas? After the
I think it's after the Christmas. Boxer Day is after the Christmas, yeah.
Well, I think they celebrate another. So Thanksgiving is celebrated in the U.S. as a day to remember the people who colonized the U.S., the Pilgrims, as we call them. And so they started having that day every year, and it was in the fall. So it is always the third Thursday in November. It isn't exact date, it's that time. It says I have a slow internet connection. I'm going to ignore that for right now. By the way, that's been a change I'm going to get to. Our internet has improved dramatically here for one reason, and I'll describe it in a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of an advertisement for where we get our internet from. But anyway, I had those medical, just, and I even had a negative COVID test. But on Thanksgiving, we had a family together, and then Christmas, which again is right near the end of the year, a week from the first of the year. It's always on the 25th of December. We had another family gathering, and that's actually the last day for about 3 months that I probably remember very well, because I then got very sick. And after the weekend of the Christmas followed, and maybe Christmas was even on a Sunday last year, I don't remember, but I went to the doctor, and they had me go to the emergency room because my blood oxygen levels were reduced below what they should have been, and I had a fever. And I essentially was in and out of the hospital between the first of the year, or Christmas time, and the 1st of April. So all of January, February, March. I think I was in the hospital 15 days during that 90-day period, and in rough shape, and wasn't, I don't believe, ever close to death, and never was close to going on a ventilator. or anything like that. But it was serious. I was tested positive for COVID at times, and I was tested negative for COVID at times. And nobody really, even the doctors, don't know what I had exactly, although they suspicion that it was long haul COVID or long-term COVID, or well, there's lots of names for it. And it wasn't like it just ended on the 1st of April, but somewhere right around the 1st of April, most of the symptoms were gone. And I did lose my sense of taste, lose my sense of smell for a while. I had a brain fog. I was always tired. The most consistent symptom was a fever. If I didn't take something to reduce the fever, I had one all the time, essentially. And I did get fairly serious respiratory cough and those kinds of symptoms during that time. So, and that's the first time in my life that I've ever really been sick.
You were really worried. I remember you saying that, and I think we were all worried about you a lot. I think start of the year, and it was kind of a bit of difficult time for us too. Like we have like team calls every week, 3 times, and he was not there. And yeah, it was like we used to jump on and still there, stay there and talk about Wayne, and hoping he will jump on. So yeah, please continue. I think when he started joining, we were relieved. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm blessed to have the friends that I have. So these aren't just my business associates; they're my friends. And I've told both Mark and Ari they're like sons to me. And I hope that at some point I can either visit them in their countries or they can come here and visit me in mine. Aaron and I got to meet live for the first time a week ago. I was in Ohio for no, not a week ago, earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday this week. And so we had been seeing each other on calls and talking to each other obviously a lot, but we weren't together live. And we had a very productive time doing some of the things we do environmentally. And that said, Mark, pull up the whatever your tab would be for the environmental consulting course. We're going to be very quick now as we talk about some things. And anybody out in the audience, please put any questions you have into the box. And I don't recognize always everybody, but I do recognize one person out in the audience, and that's Alicia. And Alicia's from Ohio. And Alicia, how are you doing today? And actually, this is not the Alicia from Ohio. This is
It's Hudson.
This is a different Alicia that's in the we have several different Alicias. So here we go. This is a brand new course that we have not yet formally marketed. We are going to be, and it's based on the series that I did for 12 or 13 weeks. And the whole purpose of this, and Mark, just kind of scroll down and maybe click and take us to a couple of the lessons and different things, is to teach you what it would take to start your own environmental consulting business and to answer a lot of the questions that you might have about that. Because that's the whole goal of the community, which, remember, Economics, so this is the Economic Action Team. Economics is defined as showing people how to make a little bit of money making the planet better. And a little bit means an appropriate amount. It doesn't mean to get wealthy. It means to make enough to make a living and to be comfortable, but to do that in a way that you increase the value of the world because of you being there. It gets better because of you. So this is a course that we really did a lot of editing on. So Mark, click on one of the lessons, just any one of them, pick one. We took those 13 sessions, 12 or 13, I don't remember exactly how many, and turned them into what, Mark? Maybe 50 I don't remember how many, but like this one here is 16 minutes long, what is it there? I can't read that. Somebody can see better than me. What's that?
18 minutes.
18
18.
minutes. Okay, so this particular lesson is 18 minutes long, and it came from an hour or longer live presentation that I did, and then we edited it down to where we took things out, we put things in, and now it's the 18 minutes long. And then below it, there'll be a description, a little bit of what you're going to have in this particular session. And then there's also a audio form to where if you can't be watching it, you can actually play the audio form, which is that where there's that red arrow, or red circle with a white arrow in it. We also are always trying to upgrade these by transcribing some of them, as many as we can. This one hasn't been transcribed yet, but we will be making more and more of it transcribed. Transcribed means we take the audio that you hear and we'll edit it to some extent so that it makes sense. Sometimes when we talk, we don't use full sentences. We all speak a little differently than the way we write things. So we'll edit that and after we transcribe it and make it to where it's useful for our students. And like this person, what's that, Mark? The transcription. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's new and very new. And we have, like I said, we haven't even started to market it yet. And we're going to in the very near future. We're not sure exactly how much we're going to sell it for. Remember, if you're an Eat Elite member, you get it as a part of your membership forever, for life, so you wouldn't have to buy it. Our customers for this will be people who are either Eat Free members, which is what the vast majority of our group are, or not members at all. And so that's a course that we've just got together, and we feel pretty good about it. So anybody else, Mark or Reeve or Aaron, have anything to say about this course? And so this little bit of a new an update for us? Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, there's the transcription. Yep. Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Neat that you put the smaller sound bites.
I'm sorry, Aaron, ask that again.
I said I like how you put them you broke it down even further, so people have the opportunity, if they only have 20 minutes, they can just choose different lessons.
Yeah, and actually 20 minutes is even a little longer than maybe in the future we would make these, and maybe we'll even edit this. It's pretty well known that the human mind works its best in small chunks of time. That's pretty well known. And why, at least the US, and I think I've asked Reeve and Mark this, but I'm going to ask him, it's mainly Reeve, but why the US has continued to stick with a 50-minute sort of timing schedule for most classes in secondary or high school, as we would call it, and above, is just a shock to me why we continue to do that, or even longer, when it's really, really well known that people learn best if they learn things in very small chunks of time, even as little as 5 minutes. So, so this is even on the longer end, anything that's in that 18 to 20 minute range. But so there's 2 reasons for reducing the amount in these courses that we've released. One is for the reason that Aaron said, which is it's more convenient. It's a lot easier to watch and or listen to something that's 15 to 20 minutes long than it is an hour or more. And secondly is, like I said, it's easier to learn when you take that kind of a time. So let's move. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
I just said yes, I agree.
All right, let's move now, Mark, to the EPN website. And EPN stands for Environmental Professionals Network. This is a group that we have kicked off, started since we last talked, and this is our actual community site. It's again based on the platform that we call Kajabi. And Mark, pull up in another tab the economics.org site and the EPN.com or environmentalprofessionalsnetwork.com site that are our, I'll just call them our blog sites because, and they're available for free. Anybody can access them. So I'm not sure if this is the EPN site, Mark. Is that what, are we on still the EAT site? This is EPN. This is Economics. Is it? Yeah. So again, there's some about information, but go to the blog, Mark, and this, we've been writing this blog for over 10 years. I actually think it might be closer to 20 years. We'll see here in a minute. And we try to keep it fairly timely. So what were the dates these were written? Mark, click on one of them. They're not that long ago. Okay, so this one's a couple months old, and we want to get them a little more current than they are. That's a little older than I'd like to see, but we lack for good writers. Writing takes some time, and we will pay a good writer, and then our sites get enough views that good writers will sometimes pay us. And is this one written by, this says by Blogger, Mark, does that mean do we know who wrote this?
It's most recent, November 10th. Yeah.
Oh, there's November 10th, everybody. I thought the last one that we had was August, but then no, that's recent. So that's only 10, 5, 6. And that was written by a third party, and they actually paid it because this site gets a lot of views. So a lot of our EAT members don't know that this is available. So I wanted to make sure you knew that it was available. And isn't there even a place where you can search and see the total of these blogs, Mark? I thought that it was in that right-hand column there, but it doesn't appear to be there. Just so we can, I wanted to go back to just see how long ago our first blog was.
Yeah. I think that is background, like not here, but if you go to WordPress site, then you will be able to see.
Well, this is the WordPress. This is the WordPress site. So
in the back,
that's the platform. Oh, there we go. How far back does that go, Mark?
Ooh, 10.
All right, there we go. That's why I said I knew it was more than 10 years. That's 12 years. So. Oh, here we go. That's cool. We're having our annual Christmas party tonight. Is that all there is to it? Just that little bit? It's kind of cool that. Oh, but yeah, there's more there.
Okay.
Okay, it's just loading. Yeah. Well, again, that one's more of personal value than it is for our team. But so let's transition and leave websites for just a second to something that I'm probably most proud of in our time in business, and that's people and what EAT and Economics has done for people. And obviously, the four of us here are all impacted in some positive ways, but over the last 15 years or so, the group of companies that I have that are economic in nature have had more than 120 volunteers from all around the world. And they come and they live here with us for as short a time as a month or less, even 3 weeks or so. That's the least amount of time we like people to stay, up to almost a year. And we have one of those with us right now. Her name is Lily's, and she comes from Connecticut, and she will have been here 3 months when she leaves about a month from now. So she'll leave just before Christmas. And so she's been here a couple of months, and she's taking a break for a semester from college. She's a junior in college, and will finish up after she goes back. So she'll start the winter semester at where she goes to college. We have one new person coming on Saturday, and he comes from Washington, the state of Washington, and he'll be here for about 3 months also, through all of the rest of December, and so all this 4 months actually. So December, January, February, and March. He'll leave in the end of March, and he has a lot of background in composting and mushrooms, and we're going to work with him to get some indoor mushroom production going here. We've wanted to do that for a long time, and he is going to help us with that. We have a second volunteer coming, so we'll have 3 here at the same time, a week following him, so a week from Sunday, excuse me. And she, it's another lady, comes from California, and she'll be here shorter length of time, about a month. And then finally a third one coming not very long after that. So we'll have 4 volunteers here all at the same time. And we actually have what we call our wall of fame. And it's a place in our office where we have pictures of a lot of these, not all of them, but very large percentage of these volunteers that we've had through the years that are on the wall. And if they get to keep their picture on the wall, as long as they continue to just communicate with us and maintain some kind of a presence in the economic world. So we probably wouldn't keep their picture up there if they became sex traffickers or car thief or some kind of things that weren't very good. But even more, if they completely left working or having some kind of involvement in the economic area, and let's say just became I don't know what would be a good example. It has rarely happened. Matter of fact, I think we've only taken 1 or 2 pictures off of the Hall of Fame, which makes me think of something. we need to get a picture that we put up on a variety of our websites of all of us, the four of us, Reeve and Mark and Aaron and I. I'm going to assign that to you, Reeve, to be the caretaker. And so you just make sure we all send you in what we want to have as our picture, and then we'll figure out and have Mark or Deb Photoshop them and put them all together, and we'll.
I love the idea.
Group picture. So I'm wearing a shirt that right now that is from my alma mater, one of my colleges. I went to, let's see, I have to count them now. 1, 2, 3, 4 different colleges. And this one is the first one that I went to right out of high school. It's called Bethany. And Bethany is the Vikings. So that is a picture of a Viking. And it was where I was at a reunion last year that I mentioned, when I think I probably contracted COVID, either that or that big event right before it. And I was back again this year. I've become now very much more involved with this university, this college. And I'm going to actually be guest lecturing and helping them teach courses there at the college. I'm going to be helping with the new athletic building they're building. They're building a big field house, and I'm going to help them market that to groups that are outside of the college. And I started getting active in a sport called pickleball in the last month or so, really. I'd actually played it some before, but I was a tennis player for a lot of my life, and I hurt my shoulder, my right shoulder, about a year ago, actually a little more than that, before I was starting to get sick. So let's say in the summer of 2021. And it's not the first time I've heard it. I've heard it, I've thrown it out of joint. I've heard it a number of times over the years. But finally, this time, the doctor said, if you keep serving, and the soreness and the pain occurs when I'm serving, you're going to have a shoulder replacement. And he said, otherwise, the shoulders will stay fine if you start doing something else, do other things you enjoy, but I would not be hitting 100+ mph serves any longer. He did say I could keep playing, but I'd have to do what we call dink. I'd have to hit the ball like this, like a little girl. I'm sorry, a little person that would hit.
But did you and Aaron play pickleball or not in Ohio?
We didn't get, no, I was all tired. I had gotten up in the morning on Monday at 2:30 a.m. and then got ready and went to the airport. And by the time we finished dinner, it was what, Aaron? It was 6:30, 7 maybe. And I was ready to call it quits for the day. So we didn't play.
I remember you guys were planning mountain climbing.
What's that?
I think you guys were planning mountain climbing, and then that kind of didn't happen. And then I heard like you were trying to do pickleball at one, but yeah. I think only 2 days. Yeah.
So anyway, if you haven't ever watched or know what pickleball is, it's the fastest growing sport in the world, and there's a lot of reasons. The reason that it is that you serve underhand, and so you don't do a serve overhand. The court is about 1/4 the size of a tennis court. It's actually exactly the size of a badminton court, and it can be played very easily. It can be learned easily. So it's got a lot of benefits to it. So anyway, I am playing pickleball. Well, I'm helping Bethany convert at least one of their tennis courts to a pickleball court. Or courts. Actually, like I said, you could put 4 pickleball courts on what was before that one tennis court. And so I'm helping them make that conversion, doing other things with them. That's a little bit of a change for me. So Mark, go to the EPN blog site just real quickly, then we're going to go back to the website. That's the Kajabi website, which is for the EPN community that Mark's at now. Oh, that's the website. All right. Yeah, they look the same at the top. Yeah. So here, if you click on blog here, you'll see some of the same articles. We do cross-publish. And so maybe you'll see that cannabinoid article right near the top again here. No, it's not the same. And this one was recently published, November 2nd. And would that have been written by an outside? And I'm throwing out these being written by somebody from the outside, everybody, because we'd like you to potentially be a writer for us if you'd like.
We call you guys collaborators. Collaborations, this is a collaboration basically. We have the platform, you become the writer, your name will be there. So this is a good collaboration.
Okay. And again, Maren is from Africa. She's a great writer. Mark ends up editing everything that any of our writers do. But, you know, would you say, how much time do you spend editing a single article? And Aaron helps with this also, that Maren writes. How much editing time-wise do you do on something that Maren would have written? Okay. It's not very long, everybody, because and again, Maren is a paid staff. Maren's been writing for us for what? Or even Mark, you guys will remember better than me. 3-4 years?
3
3 or 4
years.
Yeah.
3 years.
And like I said, she's from Africa. Mark, I'm not remembering what, I think Kenya. I think she's from Kenya, but I'm not positive. And is awesome. So that's an opportunity for all of you to have. So now, Mark, go to the EPN community site. This is something that we started, but we haven't taken it much farther than just getting it started. And the whole intent of the EPN community, much like the EAT community, is to help people that are either wanting to be environmental and ecological consultants or who already are, compete with those big companies out there. And I'm going to define big as any company maybe that has more than 10 employees, all right? And in a consulting firm, that's a pretty big sized company. But there are some that have thousands of employees. But the intent is to allow a group of people to come together in teams and to compete to get contracts that are being advertised in the federal area, so the US government, various agencies, in the states, each of the states, or even privately, to where they're looking to have some kind of environmental work, consulting type work done. And for a period of time, about a year, we did use something called BidNet, which is you pay for, and Arib would review it every day. And Mark, you're not on the EPN side, are you? Or you're still on the... Arib, it was for about a year that you put the projects onto here, didn't you? And Mark
about 8 months. About 8 months we did that. So we used to put projects on, and I think Mark used to. I think this was fairly like I used to put, and people, you can look at that if they're using the platform.
Well, again, this was a paid site. We didn't just allow people to become members for free, or we haven't yet. And we don't know what we're going to necessarily do moving ahead in the future. We're actually looking for someone to run this business. We want to find someone in our community that will come and take over my role and run this business. And if we find that person, we'll then fund it. Also, we aren't going to expect them to, they'll be the quote CEOs. And Mark, where would you click to go and see some of the projects? Because we have a spreadsheet of them. I'm sure it's still in there. It's out of date, but find the spot. So this is the website to where you'd have to go into the login. Mark, you're going to need to go there.
The login member, yeah. It was kind of a fun project for me because I used to see these bids for different government projects, and there were quite some work out there. People had a lot of contracts to give in different fields of environment, and it was kind of unique for me because I never kind of thought like this kind of work exists or at government level. But yeah, it was fun for me, at least, even though I was just putting it up in the sheet, but it was nice.
Looks like you didn't put it in LastPass, Mark. Well, Mark, wouldn't you be able to get into it? Wouldn't you be able, and don't show it to us, just maybe switch where you can get in as an admin into Kajabi, can't you? We do have one person that I've had one really good conversation with that's a member of our community. It's actually a board member for EAT. So we do have a board of advisors, and we actually had a meeting about a month ago, right, Arib? Isn't that about the last?
About a month ago, Hillary, yes.
And this person, who's one of our newer members, is very interested in potentially becoming the leader, the CEO of Environmental Professionals Network. So I'm hopeful that we continue those discussions. But if any of you know someone who might want to do this, make sure you work with us to schedule a meeting with me to talk about it. And I have a really cool little site that I want to put up, and we had it the last time that we did an update, but I may have talked about it then. But it's called talkwithwayne.com, and it's using Calendly, which is a very well-known scheduling app. And it's just that I've added the web domain name to it, to where you can go in and book a 15-minute meeting, a half an hour meeting, or an hour-long meeting with me. Or, as Arib said earlier, Arib can help you get it scheduled. So if you're at all interested, or you know someone who might be becoming the leader for EPN, schedule a time to be with me. So Mark, he might be still looking to be able to get into the login here, but put in talkwithwayne.com. By the way, we're just about done here. We've gone just a little over an hour. We're going to just take another 5 minutes or so. I've got one more update to give.
Is it open, Mark? Yeah.
Okay, so here's where you can go to book a meeting.
This is the alternative of me, basically. I think before Calendly, it was only me. And now there is Calendly also to schedule things with Wayne. So I think for 3 or 4 years, I have enjoyed the autonomy on this. But Calendly is a very cool tool.
Right.
30, and yeah.
And those meetings, the difference between that and a call is the meetings could be using Zoom, or we actually have our own using something called Dialpad conference line. And again, you can do them from anywhere in the world because Zoom is obviously international, and so is the Dialpad, which is our own conference line. Or you can do it by phone if you're in the US, and you don't have to do it visually. It doesn't have to be a video circumstance. It can just be audio also. So last update is that the other thing we're looking for is a marketing manager for EAT. And just generally economics. And that person, we also have one person that's interested in that right now that I've had 2 conversations with. And by the way, Arib, you need to make sure you schedule, don't mention a name here, something with both these ladies, the lady who's interested in EPN, and the lady who's interested in the EAT marketing position. But I don't want to just have one person. I really want some others. So again, if any of you are interested in potentially becoming the marketing manager for EAT, and it's virtual, all the things that we do with the site here and with speakers and with courses and all of that. And then secondly, it's live events that we hold here at my ranch and eventually at other locations. And we've held them in the past at other locations also, but we're going to start being very active in having them done here. I already have over 100 a year, 100 of the 365 days of the year. I have some kind of an event here at our place, at our ranch, with outside parties that are here. But that still leaves us 260 more days that we could be doing things. And I wouldn't want to have something every day. And there's days like today when you wouldn't want to be doing something because it's so cold. But that's rare. We don't have this. This is unusually difficult weather for us. So that's pretty much the end from me. Again, for anybody who's live, or if you're watching this as a replay, please put your questions in if you have them. If it's a replay, you can have a comment. So Mark, pull up one of our webinars that is out there right now for anybody to watch in an EAT-free mode, and you will see that below the place where you click to just watch the webinar, there will be a place to comment, and we will interact with you and answer your comment, and the public won't see it. It comes just to us. And Arib is the one who usually curates that, and we get told about the comment right away, so we know that it's coming.
There are a few questions in the chat also. So if and questions, so it's basically virtual and remote. Yep.
And then I'm going to end on this one, which Mark had up at the very first. So Mark, go now to the VA 365 site, and I'm going to let Arib and Mark finish us up today talking about this. This will be, other than our environmental consulting course, this is something we are now ready to market, and we're going to start today. Today is our first day of marketing it. So those of you watching this live or watching it as a replay, you're the first ones to see this. And we've talked about it a little in the past, but we're absolutely ready for it now. And here is the page, the lead page for it. Well, Mark had it for a minute and now it's gone.
Bring up the VA. Awesome. So I want to talk about this new website and new service we have, and that's called VA 365. Basically, it's our own experience. Mark, me, and Wayne, we have been working virtually, remotely. I think even before anything like pandemic changed the world for us. even before that, Mark has been working with Wayne for 10 years. I have been working for 7 years, and we agreed on one thing, that this is a very good opportunity, and if we are able to enjoy this, why not others? Why not we can give the service to our own community members? So we are bringing up this service where we are going to provide you VAs. It's quite different from the other services which are available, Upwork and others, because in this, initially when any kind of business you have accounting, you have advertising, anything that can be done virtually, it can be done by virtual assistants. I think I will say just directly, in third world countries, we have a lot of talent which is being wasted, and I think this is the best synergy. Like doing virtual work is the best synergy to tackle that. Because they have talent, you have needs, and if small business owners, like, they want to cut costs and they want to have a good talent work with them, we can provide that. So anyone who has any kind of business which can be run virtually, you can give us information, what kind of a person you need, what kind of a VA you need. We will find you the best one. And initially, I will be working with the clients directly to make sure that both the ends are meeting. Like, the client is happy, the VA is understanding the work, and everything is in sync. For 3 months, I will be directly working with all of them. And then it will be a solo flight, not a solo flight, but basically you can take it from there. So it's quite organic. It's something I have enjoyed a lot in the last 7-8 years working remotely, and I think it's time to pass this on and we bring the service to you guys. So hopefully we find people who can take advantage of this and send us. Yeah, Mark showed you how to contact us. Just click that blue button and just send us your inquiries. What kind of person you need, what kind of business you have, and we can take it from there. Yeah, we will provide the best service we can. Mark, any comments?
By the way, Alicia did throw in a bunch of comments here. And she's always awesome for this. And she always puts in links that are helpful. This is, our community is so valuable. And I'm not gonna just describe all of them. Mark publishes these questions. So with the webinar, so you'll be able to see what it was that Alicia asked. And Alicia's out there still. Thank you so much for your questions and your interaction. We appreciate that. And one last thing about, and we're going to end with this, about VA 365 is emphasizing what both Mark and Arib said. Virtual assistants are amazing, everybody. If you are running a business, you're working with a local assistant, that's awesome, and you should continue to do that if it's working for you. But many of you don't have anybody helping you as an assistant, and you would be really pleasantly surprised if you were able to get one that would be helpful for you. And what we're going to do to make sure that happens, if you go to us to get one, and there's a lot of services out there that you can get virtual assistants from, is Arib and Mark will have chosen that person from people they know. They're not just, we're not putting ads out in Pakistan. We're not putting ads out in Bangladesh. They're going to pick people that they know will be good virtual assistants. And they're going to spend the first 2 or 3 weeks that those people work for you, if they're yours, working right alongside that person. So you're now getting 2 people for 1, really. Because Arib and Mark are owners of this business, the A360. It's not mine. It's theirs and mine. It's not just me. They're owners also. So they're highly motivated to make sure that you get the best quality. And that's where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to turn it over and let Arib, because he talks about this really well. Mark talked about it a little bit, but Mark, end it with you, Arib, saying what it is that you are planning to do to help make sure that the work that these people get from virtual assistants is well worth, or is way more valuable than the amount they're spending to pay these people.
Well, I think it's my own experience. First, I know these people. I have a lot of people who ask me these questions, and they want to work and they know how to deal with this. These companies, others I have seen, they just take, I think, either a big chunk amount of whatever they work for, the cost, they just take the money out of it. So my motivation for this work was to help basically the people here, help the business, and help the person who is working his time and energy in that. So he takes home all of it, basically, or a maximum out of it. Even it will cost, I think the cost wise, it will be quite low, but it will be a big, I think, compensation for the people who are working here. And they're talented. We know them. They need it, and they can pull the job. Basically, they are good for the job. So it's basically it. I think not environmental, I will say. I think it's helpful, to generate wealth like this, generate more value like this, where it's basically needed. And so I think that is my theory here. The motivation is to help, basically help these young people who have the talent, who have the education, and they need it basically for themselves, for their families, basically. And we are there to help them and the business owners, our clients.
All right. Well, thank you, Arib. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Aaron. And any more comments from Mark or Aaron before we end?
See you in next year now in updates.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good rest of your day, everyone, and a weekend to come.